Call the meeting order, 5:17. Bob, you want to start us out? Roll call.
Bacon present.
Smith, present.
Hunter present.
Kikwan present.
Gunning present.
Coin, present.
Fig present.
Looking at item 3, approval of the agenda. That looking good to everybody?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as it stands.
I second it.
Motion by Fig, support by Coin to approve tonight's agenda. All say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried. Item 4, regular meeting minutes of September 18th. How do those look to everybody?
Good. I move that we accept the minutes from the 2018 meeting as shown.
I'll second.
Motion by Fig, support by Bacon to approve tonight, or the meeting minutes of September 18th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried. Item 5, public comment. Seeing nobody in the galley, we'll move on to number 6, reports. Mark, you want to help us out there?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Evening.
Your financial reports begin first with the approval of the accounts payable for September. Those are listed on starting on page 4 for the EDA. We have bills to Consumers Energy totaling $586.06. We have the payment to Be Green Lawn Services. They did the application, weed control application, late September, $1,740. Quarterly water bills to the township, $6,854.50. And then a payment to Gordy Frazier for their support on the pump station number 1 for the engineering services contract that you all approved earlier this summer. And then payments to the Isabella County Road Commission totaling $107,043.30 for the road work. These billings involve gravel for Airway Drive and Airport Road, and then the road work on Carter Road, Betty Lane and Yats, and then cross lanes. And then monthly payment to MMI for their routine services in the amount of $683.25. The total AP run is $117,444.11. Be happy to answer any questions, and this will need action by the board.
I could just make one comment on the weeds and crabgrass application done by Be Green Lawn Care. They did that at the end of September. It was on a Wednesday night at midnight. They came in and did the work, and they found it worked really good at that time. There was very little traffic, went real well, and so he came in at 760 under what we had budgeted at 2,500, so we still have some left from that.
Nice.
So it's ready to go for springtime, pre-emergence. Did some weed broadleaf control. If you drive through there, you'll see some of the weeds have, in the last couple weeks, curled up and gone away. So it's in process. Thank you.
So I had a question on the Isabella County Road Commission road work between like the Carter Road, Betty Lane, Cross Road. How did those numbers compare to what we actually had budgeted. How were the yields on that?
I would have to look that up, and I can send out an email and answer that question to the board.
Because those aren't the same amounts, if I remember right.
We approved participation agreements for all that, and they wouldn't have been above that. They could have been below it, but they wouldn't have been above. But I can give you a comparison table.
Yeah, if there's savings, we definitely want our money back. You know,
Well,
I
we're
don't want
going
to spend it.
Right.
Yeah, double check
Okay.
that.
Happy to.
Any more comments, questions on the billables for the East EDA?
Make a motion to approve the payables, the accounts payable on the East EDA.
Motion by Gunning. Do I hear support by, who was that, Fig?
Yeah.
To pay the East DDA billables. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried.
Thank you. There's just one accounts payable check for the West DDA. It's on page 5. It's a payment to Gordy Frazier, $1,645 for engineering services per the contract approved by this body for services related to Pump Station 14.
And we'll need a motion on this one. I'll make a motion to approve the payables in the West DDA.
Support.
Motion by Gunning, support by Johnson to pay the West DDA billables. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried.
And your last accounts payable approval is for the West DDA General Obligation Debt Fund. It's on page 6. It's an $800 payment to U.S. Bank for the paying agent on the bonds that were paid off this year.
So that complete the bond agreement then?
I don't believe there would be any more paying agent fees. That was for the support they provided on the bond payments that would have been paid to investors during 18. And with that payment, as you'll see in a few minutes, the fund balance in that fund is below $10. So it's about to be zeroed out.
Do we need to make a
Move
motion
the-
at some
move
point
the-
to zero that account out, or is that just something that goes through the account?
At some point, as part of your probably accounts payable approval, once we're certain there's no more payments against this fund, we would probably just cut a check from that GO debt to the West DDA operating, and you'd approve it via your accounts payable.
Okay.
I was going to
So-
say, hope we don't have any more paying agent fees. We're not going to be able to, that's the
Yeah,
$10.
I move that we approve the payment of the debt agent fee.
Motion by Fig. Any support?
I'll support. Second.
Support by Coin, approving the West DDA GO debt paying agent fee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion's carried.
The next item on the agenda is just the receipt and filing of the September financial reports. There's two sets of reports, the budget actual and then the balance sheet. As it relates to the budget to actual, which is on page 7 of your packet for the East DDA, there's no material change in revenues or expenses from the prior month. I don't have any comments to make. The only change would have been, of any significance, would have been the quarterly water bills that you just approved. If you do have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them.
There were some issues with some of the overhead lights on Pickard, correct? That was brought up in the last meeting, was it? Do you know if what the repairs were? And
I don't. We monitor those lights with some regularity. We had some lights that were out that I believe have been replaced. We're still waiting on the light pole that was taken out in an auto accident a while ago now, late last winter. And we're in communication with them once a month or so. That thing's still on order. It's a custom-made pole, but it's been ordered. It's been back ordered, I guess, or it's in the process of being manufactured, but we're monitoring that.
I have a slight procedural question. I see that like on public safety fire protection, we're at 100%, 0.02. The amount is very small. We have to approve an amount, you know, if this comes up in the future on a bigger deal or anything, and if we go over 100% of what we budgeted.
We don't at the line item level.
Okay.
From an auditing perspective, they will look at the department and
I mean, the amount's tiny, 0.02 over
Right.
100%, but it is more than what we budgeted.
no, that's not a concern for me. $13.
Yeah. It was more if a bigger one came up
Right.
sometime, that was.
Related to that, though, this body does approve budget amendments periodically throughout the year, and there may be, I don't think there will be another budget amendment yet this year, but it would be to clean up those types of things that we thought was necessary. The West DDA budget actual, again, there's no material change, maybe not change at all, from the prior month's report. Revenues slightly above the amended budget. Expenses below the amended budget. And that primarily has to do with the payment flow for the sewer system project. Some of that's going to actually be done in 2019. The West DDA general obligation budget actual. Nothing to report there. All the primary expenses have been paid. All the revenue's been received. And that fund is about to be closed out. Moving on to the balance sheets for the EDA, that's on page 11 of your agenda packet. There's a fund balance of $1,239,377. It's essentially all in the form of cash. Down slightly from the prior month, but that's planned as we do some of the projects we've been doing. The West DDA balance sheet's on page 12, $1,005,000 and some change. Last month it was $1,007,000, I think, so just slightly lower. And again, that's all planned as part of the projects that are going on in the West DDA. And then that general obligation fund I mentioned, that fund balance is $6.63. It'll be zeroed out before year end, part of year end.
That fund will be part of the 2018 audit. We won't be able to close it out until the audit is complete. So it'll be closed out in the middle of mid-year 2019, after the audit is done.
Thank you.
That's all I have on the financial reports, unless any of you have any questions.
Anybody?
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. And then just while I'm here, occasionally I have a couple comments. We are going to try to have the road commission at the November meeting to give the board an update on the work that they've done in 2018. And also give you an update on where they're at on the Lincoln Road, both north and south of the bridge. So we hope to have somebody here at the November meeting. The work has begun on the bench and trash receptacle work that you all approved. Forget the gentleman's name. Douglas?
Tom Culver.
Culver.
Yep.
We've been in communication with him. He's indicated he was starting his work or about to. We've asked that he provide us a progress report, maybe monthly, on how he's working through the stretch of road there. And he'll have some of that done, I'm sure, this year, and then winter's going to come, it'll slow down. The service agreement indicates that he'd be done by April of 19. And the EDA budgets that you all approved last month with the recommendation to the Board of Trustees that they approve, those were presented to the Board of Trustees at their October 10th meeting, and then they'll be holding some study sessions between now and the end of the year as they review all the budgets. And then lastly, I attended the ribbon cutting for Mitchell's that was either earlier, I think it was earlier this month, a couple weeks ago. Well attended. That's a good, that's in the West EDA. That's a good addition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Board member expiration matrix. I would have a question if I could ask the chairman.
Oh, go ahead.
Robert,
Yes.
I see that you're up on January 19th of next year. Do you have an intent of continuing, or?
I'm willing to, yes.
Okay. Anytime you want to get your
Come in.
application in,
Sure.
sooner the better.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Matrix?
It's the only real pending one. We got two more people in April. I got a little time to bug them. I'm assuming one of them is going to for sure. Right?
Possibly. And I see on 6D, we have our water and sewer projects progress reports. question or comments on the progress reports? Hearing none,
One question, how far along are we on May Street?
That's,
On the pump 14? Pump
that one's
station?
first, it's right there on the, I think it's the last page, is the May Street one.
Mm-hmm, right. It says, fall of 2018 for construction. Is that,
Appears that they're waiting for a permit before they can go any further to, I don't think it's even been bid yet, has it?
that's what I was wondering. I don't think so.
It's set to be bid this month, and we're hoping that that gets completed yet this year.
Not too far.
weather permitting, right?
Yeah, but we think we'll be able to. It's not a huge project.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Anything else on those? Any new business you want to talk about, your idea?
Yeah. Back in the spring, if you remember, Ken Schaefer had come in and talked about a project that the Rotary Club was doing on the entrance and exit ramps off the expressway on Pickard Street, where they wanted to do a beautification project in the middle, and he'd asked about whether this board had wanted to possibly run irrigation into that area to help maintain what they were going to do. And at that point in time, I think the next meeting, I believe, Ken was a supervisor of the township at one point in time, and the reason why we're sitting in this room in the EDA is because Ken Schaefer spearheaded the creation of this very board. And we had talked at that time that we were looking at Jamison Park, and I don't know if it was a private conversation, if it was a conversation amongst the board, I can't remember, was the concept of, we very rarely ever honor someone for their life's work until they're gone. And at that point in time, I'd mentioned is that rather than, because I knew he was in bad health, and he wouldn't be around a long time. But wouldn't it be kind of neat if for his work with the township that we took a portion of Jamison Park, whether it was the ball field or the building or the park itself, and named it in his honor? Whether it be Ken Schaefer Ball Field or whatever. And my thought was originally is why he was alive, the hard work that he put in, thank you, right? And then, as we know, Ken passed away yesterday.
I didn't know that.
I just talked to him
Yeah.
3 days ago.
Yeah. Well, with the COPD, you never know, right? And he was really bad. And he used to come into my shop a lot, and we used to talk a lot. And he'd give me advice. And he was just the most energetic person for somebody that didn't have any oxygen in his blood. I mean, I can't imagine what he was like before, right? And he was always like that. But and I don't know what power we have except as a board to say that we can push it forward, is that I think it would be a nice tribute to consider, who's Jamison. Nobody really knows, and whether they donated the land or whatever, but we do know what Ken did and what he meant to the community and all the hard work he put in. And I think it'd be a nice tribute to entertain the idea of maybe naming a ball field, Ken Schaefer Ball Field, at Jamison Park or whatever, we feel is pertinent, or if we don't. But I thought I'd bring that up for discussion.
I like the idea.
It's a nice
Doing
idea.
A
It is a nice
resolution,
idea.
we possibly on behalf of the EDA, but as, I think we can only send that to like the trustees who would ultimately
Make that decision.
decide. And
Right.
so maybe if you guys want to craft a letter or something from us to the
The
trustees, and then we
Yeah.
can take a vote on it at that next meeting and send it upstream.
I
over
mean,
to them.
even at election time, Ken was so active with voter ID and everything like that. I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Because he usually did work Jameson Hall on that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, look
Yeah,
up right to
yeah.
his end. Here's this man that was dragging around an oxygen tank, couldn't breathe, couldn't walk very far, but still had more energy than most of us do for the community. So I just think that, I think it's just a nice tribute, and like I said, I just ashamed that I didn't push it further ahead, because this literally was a conversation that we had, in this room, 6 months ago. So that's all I had.
No, okay.
Thanks.
And I think that's about it, right? We call the meeting adjourned, 5:44. Next meeting, November 20th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Welcome.
FYI, I wore myself out apparently, so on November 19th, I'm scheduled for a hip replacement, so I'll be here at the next one.
Why
Holy
not?
mackerel. We expect you here.
No, where? Jack, where?
What kind of procedures you gonna do? Posterior, anterior,
From the side?
modified anterior?
Yeah, is that what you call it? I don't know, I'm not a doctor.